Okay guys, tonight we're only covering the setup and the starting instructions of the positive pressure ventilation fan. So minimal PPE is required. That means steel-toed boots, gloves, ear protection, eye protection, and overalls. Next week we'll cover positioning and deployment, so that'll mean full PPE. So first our safety officer is going to go through the training plan and hazard assessment and inspect your PPE.
Good evening guys, DC Bourgeois here. Like Brian said, I'm going to go through our field level hazard assessment. Right off the bat, if anything goes wrong, the exit is right over there. There's also one in the front, muster areas in the front. Eye wash stations on the wall, and from there we'll continue on. What we need for tonight is obviously a PPE fan, and as Brian alluded to, minimal PPE requirements for tonight. Some of the hazards that we have tonight is slippery surfaces. Make sure your cleats are turned around. We're working on concrete. If you step outside the door, there's potential for ice. So we'll make sure we mitigate that as best we possibly can by putting some sand down, and again, your cleats being turned around. There is an inhalation risk. They do emit carbon monoxide, so we'll make sure that we're ventilating. We do have the fan on, but we are just going to be starting and stopping the unit, so it shouldn't be too bad tonight. Flammable liquids, we're dealing with gasoline, so just make sure that your PPE is in order, and obviously no smoking unless you're in the smoking designated area. Flying rocks and debris, we'll make sure that we've swept this up. We'll do one final check before we get going. Just making sure that the rocks and stuff like that when the PPV starts are out of the way, as well as it is loud, so make sure that you have some form of hearing protection if you're going to be running this for any duration.
Thanks, DC. Okay, so the fan is a 4-stroke engine, meaning that it uses unmixed fuel, so Aspen 4 or pump gas, and it requires oil in the crankcase. So we check all that during our monthly truck and equipment checks or after every use. So to run, an engine needs 3 things: fuel, ignition, and compression. So for fuel, we check to make sure that there is fuel in the tank, the fuel valve is on, and we look for leaks. If the engine is cold, we set the choke to the on position. Then we set the throttle to about half to get it going. For ignition, we make sure the ignition switch is set to the on position, which allows the electronics to create a spark at the spark plug. And then for compression, when we pull the cord, the piston moves up, compressing the gas, making it more likely to explode.
We'll just make sure, guys, when we are pulling the cord that we're bracing ourselves as well as the PPV, so utilizing your foot and your hand to actually brace the fan itself.
So you sharply pull the cord, and then once the fan begins to run, if you've used the choke, move it to the off position and increase the fuel as necessary. And then to shut down the fan, just turn the switch to the off position. Okay, now I'd like to give each of you a try. Ramirez, why don't you go first?
Sure. Take the choke, take the fuse on.
So let me just step in here for a second. Remember, we need 3 things. We need fuel, compression, and spark. What are we missing?
Oh, we forgot to turn the ignition on. There
Okay,
we go.
give it a try. Oh, that's great. So once we've had all have it returned to try, we know that the PPV fan is a simple and versatile device. It only requires a few careful steps to be used reliably. Now that we've all had a turn, we should be able to tackle next week's practical demonstration with confidence. Thanks very much.